Welcome to the TLW Podcast. I am Jonathan Pixley here with my partner, Dr. Sean Owens. Welcome back, Dr. Owens.
What's up, Coach? How we doing, baby?
Doing great, ready to go. And then with our other partner, Jace Augustus with JCB Media behind the scenes, running things. We have a very, very special guest. All of our guests are special, right? But this is a particular privilege for us to have Gordon McKernan on with us today. Gordon, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Know you're a busy, busy man. But Gordon is obviously one of the most well-known figures here in Baton Rouge, in the business world and our community for various reasons. I'll give you a little background and bio on him, and then we are going to get right into it because y'all would much rather hear him talk than us talk, as we know. Gordon is the founder and CEO of Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, one of Louisiana's most successful and well-known personal injury law firms. He's a Baton Rouge native, graduated from LSU, then law school at Loyola in New Orleans. After law school, he joined his father's law firm, the McKernan Law Firm, established a reputation representing people hurt by others' negligence, and his firm has grown to be one of the most successful in the country, honestly, at this point in time. So with that said, along with all of the other things that you have going on from a business endeavor standpoint, and we're going to dive into your support of LSU, your support of Baton Rouge in the community. Yep. If there's anybody more ingrained in the community here in Baton Rouge, I don't know who it is, okay? But we'll get that, and neither did my Siri get that either. So let's talk about your professional journey, okay? Yeah. And I'm going to let Dr. Owens shoot at you first here.
Sure.
All right, so I'm a dentist. People obviously love me as much as they love you. My kids, when they were younger, I asked them what they want to be when they grow up. Obviously, everybody wants to be like their dad when they're growing up. So 6-year-old kids said, yeah, I want to be a dentist. Now, none of my kids want to be me. I want to know why you chose law, because like I said, the easy answer is, okay, I want to be like what my father did or what my mother did. But is there something deeper that drew you to that profession?
Well, first of all, thank y'all for having me. I'm not sure I'm esteemed and all those other nice compliments that you said about me, but I do appreciate it.
You are right now.
I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you guys, and I'm especially thankful, and your viewers didn't get to see, but you asked to say a prayer beforehand, which is not often.
We do not
those things happen.
So
love that. That obviously touched my heart and my face. So thank you for having me. I was exposed to it from a young age, and my father was a very active guy in our profession, but also in politics and life, and especially like the civil rights movement. And I can remember, the people gathering at our house when I was young, and just kind of be on the outside watching and listening as they were trying to improve things for certain classes of people in this state. And that always resonated with me. Even though I'm conservative, right? I still have a bent to try to want to help others. And I guess that's probably coming from the exposure my dad gave me early on, that we help people. This is what we do. And my dad wasn't at that point a wealthy guy or anything. He just had a heart for helping. So I think that kind of just flowed through me from a young age and stuck with me on my professional journey.
I love that. That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny that you told, because we go back a little ways.
Yeah.
And so I remember you telling me one time, you said, yeah, I'm the most famous ambulance chaser in Baton Rouge, right? The fact that your level of self-awareness and you've never hidden from who you are has always, I think, been attractive to a lot of people. When most people think of the law profession, they will think of, oh, guys trying to make a bunch of money, right? And you've obviously benefited financially from your practice. Yeah. But what are your other, or maybe even your main whys? I know you mentioned helping people, right? What are your main whys as to why you do this still to this day?
So why I'm doing what I'm doing is probably a little different than why I started as a lawyer. But I don't know of any lawyer who goes into it to really. I think I'm gonna make a ton of money, because lawyers make good livings, but they don't make crazy livings. I mean, 98% of them, 95% of them. So to expect from me, someone like you, that I would enjoy the success and we would grow to where we've grown, just was never in my mind, ever.
Why not?
It's just, lawyers don't make it. I mean, I've become a marketing company, a finance company, a private equity company of sense, if you want to think about it in terms of all the investment dollars that I have to put for the 14 offices, the 8 cities, and inside and outside the state of Louisiana. It's just a lot. You don't plan on that. I'll just go represent people if they're injured and they need help. And, you think, okay, that'll be enough. And it just kind of kept growing and growing. So I went into it for one reason. How it veered and where I am now is probably a different reason. And without getting too in depth, it was a moment of clarity when I was praying about it, getting into the advertising business. And this is 17 years ago, in my shower and wrestling with God, so to speak, like Jacob, and stuff. And should I do it? Should I not? My dad wasn't in favor of it, but he said, if you want to do it, it's fine. And
He wasn't in favor.
he was not.
Okay.
No. And my wife, it wasn't opposed, just not for me. I don't think we need to do it. But I said, we need to do it. And my wife wasn't really. And so your important people in your life are kind of saying, wow, think about this. So a lot of prayer and stuff, but there was a moment where I think God directed me in a sense. And it's a crazy little thing, but my wife had a bottle of face cleansing product. It's keep in the shower, that and the little cutout things. And it's all the shampoos and soaps, and she'd always used it. I had never seen this bottle before. Even every day, you just don't pay attention exactly what it is. And as I'm praying with God and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, do I advertise and all that stuff, and how could I benefit God's kingdom, so to speak, here on earth? Opened my eyes, and there was the name of the bottle was called Purpose.
Okay.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never seen it. Little bottle like this that says Purpose. I said, you've got to be kidding me. I am wrestling about whether I want to advertise and how I could do that, and then praying to God, and then it says Purpose. And when I tell you I was in a hot shower, but I got chills, directionally it changed. I said, okay, I get it. Yeah. So, I made some commitments to myself. I'm gonna put up beatitude or Bible verse billboards. We're gonna hand out Bibles with every check. If you see and understand us, you're going to see a person of faith in there. I'm not gonna Bible thump you, right? But we have weekly devotionals on Friday mornings. We do a lot of those things that hopefully people, when they come to us, they have a great experience. But as my pastor, and who I talked a lot about this with, said, maybe people ask, well, why are they different? Why are you different, Gordon? And then from there, you can get into what's really important. It's not just giving you a check at the end of your case, but giving you a direction towards eternity.
So let's rewind that. Okay.
Yeah.
So your faith is obviously a huge part of who you are and what you do. That's something you grew up with?
Yes and no.
Okay.
My dad was Catholic and my mom was Methodist, so they got in the middle with Catholic light and we're Episcopalian. We were raised, and so then I guess in 6th, 7th grade they moved over to a non-denominational church. The chapel on the campus. Donald Tabb was a wonderful man.
Yes,
and that kind of reshaped our religious experience growing up, and from there things got somewhat more serious. Joined youth groups and started to understand those things. It was great. So yes, it was religious and faithful, but it wasn't, we could always do better, so to speak. So,
gotcha. Two things. So first off, I heard you say on a podcast you did a few years ago, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing overboard. I love that. You're talking with someone who suffers from the same affliction.
Yeah. And interesting, one of my smartest friends, Brad Mittendorf, who's a local lobbyist in here town, he reads more than all of us combined. But he said, the actual origin of that statement and how you're using it is not a compliment. It's not a good thing. It's usually when you overdo something.
I disagree.
Yeah, I know. So I told him, I said, but you're going to overdo something to a bad effect. And I'm like, well, I'm trying not to, but I do. I'm with you. If I go into something, it's all in the time. So I have to be very careful what I go into.
So we look at how things change for you. You start getting to marketing significantly, which I'm sure changes the face of the practice. Can you describe for us some of the major obstacles that you had to come over as you proceeded down the road?
Yeah, well, there are some really good lawyers in this state, marketing-wise, right? Mm-hmm. You look at Louisiana, we seem to lead in so many different areas, in the country, good and bad. I mean, the eyes of the world were on here as we're hiring the next coach and all the drama there. But we always seem people are focused on Louisiana, and some very good and experienced marketers and advertisers. That was just a first big obstacle. Second big obstacle is it costs a lot of money. I mean, it's not something you can tiptoe in. So you got to be well-resourced and capitalize on things. And shortly after I started advertising, I guess a couple years in, my dad got really sick. So I had to run the firm, do all that, bank lines. It was right in the 2008-9 that crash, the real estate, and banks were not as eager to loan money, and they were pulling credit lines from me because my dad is sick, and he had the bank account at that time, and it was an obstacle to try to figure out how do I keep it going when his name couldn't be on the guarantee anymore. It was just me, and so I had to move banks and go establish new credit lines, and it was tough. Yeah, so those things, you got formidable competitors and just the money and the wherewithal and determination it takes to overcome those obstacles.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. We just want to take a quick second to tell you about Train, Lead, Win.
If you're a professional, a leader, or an athlete, and you're looking to move from good to great, that is exactly what we do.
We offer one-on-one coaching, live events, and group training that is helping people all over the country grow in every aspect of their lives.
If this sounds interesting to you, visit the link in the description to learn more. The second part to my question is completely obsolete now, because the second part of my question was going to be how you've used marketing to overcome those obstacles. But it seems almost like the obstacle was, not to quote the book, but obstacle was the way, but it was just one of those things. It was just a part of what you were doing, and you had no problem being headstrong and make sure to get through all that.
You had to. Yeah, you got to be
all in, baby.
Relentless. You just got to be fanatical about it. Yeah, awesome. And it's all consuming, and it still is. I wish I could. I'm doing better with delegating things, but I wish I could tell you that. It turns off at night for me, and I go to bed easily, and I sleep through the night, eat great, and I don't need much sleep. But no, it's when you're an entrepreneur, it seems like the mind just doesn't shut off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So speaking of marketing and being all in, my youngest daughter recently showed me a video of you doing the TikTok thing and with the other guys. How many takes did it take?
Oh, my dance thing?
Yeah,
that was one.
One?
Yeah, I'm usually a one-take guy on everything. I've done it long enough. It's just one time done. Yeah, apparently that sparked a bunch of other attorneys wanting to showcase their dancing skills, and I had no idea what I was doing. If they just asked me to do something, I do it.
You do it?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit to your support of the Baton Rouge community.
Yeah.
And LSU as well. Since the beginning of the NIL world, you have been unquestionably the biggest supporter, at least the driving force in Baton Rouge behind that. What are the reasons? Because look, NIL has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths to a degree, right? And a lot of those people don't really understand it.
All right.
But what are the reasons? Why'd you get so involved?
Well, back to his point, anything worth doing is worth overdoing, right? So I can't just tiptoe a little bit. The competitive nature I have in me, it feeds on itself. And I got into it. I'd been courting Miss Mulkey, Coach Mulkey.
Yeah.
I'd been chasing her.
Yeah.
I wanted to partner with her. I'd met her one time when she was trying to raise funds early on. I said, well, Coach, after you spend an hour with Kim Mulkey, you're different. I get it.
No doubt.
I see what they see. How can I partner with you? Because I'd like to be alongside of you. Because back to the ambulance chaser comment, it's hard to dislike the ambulance chaser as much when he's attaching himself to winners. I quickly realized how talented she was, how much of a force she is. And I just want to associate my brand, the ambulance chaser, with a really good brand, and then it lifts me up, right? And that was my thought. Yeah. And she was like, well, not so fast. Well, I got to see who you are. I got to check you out. You're going to have to prove it to me. Yeah. That you're not this ambulance chaser that's like, Coach, I'm a conservative. I'm married my high school sweetheart, all these things. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. And so over a period of 5-6 months, kept interacting with her. And then this is towards Christmas because we met in the summer. I got the idea, the NIL broke, and I said, what if I signed one of her players? That would probably make her, okay, he's really up in his game to date me. And so Alexis Morris, that's right. I reached out to Jennifer Roberts, her assistant, hey, who would be good on the team to sign? Yeah. Give me a good story. She said, Alexis Morris. Because she was with Kim, she left, and Kim, and I love redemption, right? Anytime if you have redemption in your model, I'll take you, right? Because we've all been redeemed, right, as believers. And, she came back to Kim's fold. Kim accepted her back. And I said, okay. So we did that. And then from there, it was just 3 weeks later, the Keishon Butte thing at Christmas. Mm-hmm. Saban and Alabama were trying to get him. And that's when you sit around at duck camp with too much testosterone and too much wine. And my brother-in-law, Dr. Field, who's the team doctor at LSU, was like, "Oh, you can't let him get up." Like, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. And they said, "You've got to go get him." So I called into one of the talk shows and said, "What do we need to do?" And it started from there. And I went signed Kayshawn, and away it went.
What was interesting about that talk show that you called in on, because I remember, I was involved with an NIL company at the time, and you called in and basically said that, what is it going to take?
Yeah.
And I remember the people that I was sitting with were like, he can't say that. That's not like legal. And I was like, no, he can say anything he wants to. It's not, the coaching staff saying it, right?
Right.
He can say whatever.
Yeah.
And by putting that out there, what was interesting is it's kind of like Lane Kiffin, right?
Yeah.
He says a bunch of crazy stuff that people are drawn to,
Right.
but it's because, first of all, what you said was the truth.
Right. Yeah.
Right. This is what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Right. I got to in order to make this happen. So.
Yeah.
And I think your competitive drive with that. So to me, the NIL thing, and while sure I don't agree with all of it, I'm sure you don't either. But I think it's here to stay.
Right.
For sure. If LSU wants to compete, they've got to be at the forefront of it for sure.
Yep.
Is there a point that you see yourself stepping away from it?
Not completely, could I throttle back a little bit because other people are now into it? Yes, and I think that's starting to happen. I think that LSU has gotten really good and really focused on getting other corporate partners into the NIL space in lots of ways, and ones that you wouldn't think of normally. But the House settlement and some of the way they've changed it a little bit, they've allowed more freedom for the university, obviously, and the partners, the business groups to work together. And now through Playfly and some other things you can do, they can actually get true marketing dollars from a company. Why would an oil field service company do an NIL deal? Well, now they can do it this way, and it's all legal. It'll be approved, and allows them, especially a lot of these big companies, have community dollars they want to spend. They want to put good dollars back in the community. They can do it through LSU, help themselves, and also help the program.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you feel that this has ruined college sports?
It's definitely, I don't think it's ruined it, but it's definitely changed it, and probably not for the better. But you had to do it because these men and women were being taken advantage of by the NCAA, making so much money, and they're still getting something, but they're not getting to the degree that the NCAA was getting. They had to.
Man, I ran cross country for LSU for one season. The amount of money that school made off of me, absolutely insane.
Well, maybe not you directly, but you had two things that you couldn't square up. They were taking advantage of the kids, and the only way to do it was to give them money. But once you gave them money, it's no longer amateur sports; it's semi-professional, and it certainly changes everything. But I'm excited about all the football playoffs right now. I think when you watch that, you get back to it's still great to watch, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We want to watch who's going to win this playoffs, and
that's right.
Hadn't killed it, but it's greatly changed it.
Yeah. All right, so we got everything that you're doing with the law practice, everything that you're doing with LSU. Can you talk to us more about some of the community outreach? We love hearing about. I'm a cyclist, so hearing about the bikes you give away is something that I love. If you wouldn't mind kind of talking through us a little bit about how you got started in that and really what it is you're doing with that.
Yeah, it's a true story. I've told it, but people think it's made up. I had a bike one time as a Red Schwinn. It was awesome. I can remember it. I remember how excited I was when I saw it, rode it immediately, and kept riding it. And somewhere through life, when I thought to myself, if I'm ever successful, how do you give back? And that was the first little thing that jumped into my mind. Why wouldn't I give bikes to boys and girls across Baton Rouge, and now it's Louisiana, to have that same type of feeling that I experienced on Christmas morning? And then I think that the faith part, like if you've been blessed and you've received grace and you know what Christ did for you, I mean, we're told not to hold this to ourselves. It's like a light under a bed. You don't put a lamp under a bed. You want to put it out there for people to see, right?
That's right.
And I think what I do is something that we all should strive for in our own ways, and maybe not to the degree I do it, but we can all be better citizens. And when people ask, wonder why he does that? Well, it's his faith. I want people to ask me the question so I can talk about my faith. And too much is given, much is expected, right? And I've certainly been given and blessed more than I deserve.
Parable of Talents, man. I
Yeah,
love it.
that's right.
That's it.
Exactly.
It's really good.
Exactly.
So here at TLW, we have 5 pillars that we basically base everything that we do on. Honor God above all else. Discipline is diligence. Value people over profit. Lead through service, not self, and build legacy through integrity. Out of the 5 of those, and obviously I let you look at those prior to the podcast. All 5 of those are applicable to what you do, who you are, your business, your family life, all those things.
Yeah.
What's the one that sticks out?
Yeah, honor God. Yeah. It's what we're
Obvious.
told to do.
Yeah.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself, right? So it's the very first commandment, the very first directive, honor and love God. And from that, those other things you talked about, they flow into it. You're going to have to discipline yourself and dedicate yourself. You're going to have to be a man of integrity, and those things to me, all your other 4 lead back to that, to honor God.
Why do you think this is a loaded question, our society is sprinting away from that right now?
I would think, and it's just sin, right? We're born sinners. And if you don't wrestle with that every day and don't remind yourself every single day that you're a sinner and need of God's grace daily, and this generation with the iPhones and all the other social media and all, it's very much a me-centered generation, right? Versus our generation or our parents' generation where they didn't have all these things. What'd you have? You go outdoors, you probably read a book at night, your parents doing it, and it wasn't all these other distractions. And in a sense, it's how much more Jesus talks about money in the Bible than hell 27 times to 3 times or something like that. And all these things that we're giving our kids are a form of money. It's, iPhone's $1,000, right? And with what you can do with that, it's certainly going to distract you from God.
Sure.
Right? And so I think the busyness and the chaos and the wealth of our society makes it harder to seek God. We really do.
Yeah, no doubt. Agreed.
So look at business chaos. I would imagine your life with all that you have your hands in, you face a little bit of that yourself. If we look at a typical day for Gordon McKernan and the specific have-tos that you have on your list that keep you centered and allow you to be the best person you can be each day, do you have any specific things that you can share with?
Yeah, it's what I was just talking about, honor God. Every day when I get up, I have my devotionals and I have my work, and it's a struggle for me to prioritize that devotional every single morning, right? Because some mornings, like, it's a crazy day. I got to get to it. Let me just check my emails. And once you start that, it's over here. So
You an early riser?
Yeah. So the battle between the two, right, starts early. And it doesn't ever end, right? Because the chaos and busyness of life is going to take you away from those important things, whether it's focusing on God, focusing on a relationship with your wife, your kids. And so it starts for me every single morning. I literally have that battle. All right, got to make sure the devotional versus the chaos and busyness of life starts early. Because I usually go to bed answering emails and stuff, and in the morning and check your phone. Oh gosh, dog, this already blew up on me. I got to start doing that. I forget about go do that little. I like to build my fire and do my quiet time, especially this time of year. But it interrupts it. So there has to be a conscious determination to put out all this noise and focus on the priority things of your life, the concentric circles, what's in the most middle of your life, and it's God, faith, family, friends.
Because I think that every single person that sat in this seat we asked this question to everybody, and every single person's the exact same thing. I think it's something that we look at with TLW is having that compass every single day that sets where you're going to go for the day. Every single person that sat here said the same thing. They're an early riser. That quiet Devo meditation time in the morning is just what allows them to be the person they are in every other phase of the day that comes afterwards.
And if you're married like me, like today, I said, sweetie, sit down. I just need to know because I'm leaving to go hunting, right? Going hunting this week. I said, all right, just walk me through things. Well, how can I help you? What do you need? What are we doing? I mean, little things like that, checking in on your spouse, right? And willing to spend that extra time, talk to me, I'm listening, I'm ready. That's just as important, right? In a sense. I mean, I got to honor her and love her. And if I'm just, all right, I'll call you later, I'll do it. I took time, make sure. That's important.
Absolutely, bro.
And you mentioned that, like you just said, everybody that sat in this chair said that. You said it in a little bit different way, I think. But I don't think that there's anybody that can be as busy as you and some of the other people who sat in this chair and be sane if they didn't have that first, right? You have to get your mind right. You have to get your body right.
Yeah.
You have to get all the things right that you need to take care of. And so I think that leads directly, which you just segued for us. Thank you. Into my next question for you. Your family, okay, is something that you make very obvious is very, very, very important to you.
Yep.
Okay. There probably are people out there who watch commercials that you do and go, oh, he's just using his family to sell his practice, this, that, the other. And there probably are people who do that, right? First of all, okay, talk to our viewers about why your family is so important to you. And then also why you basically don't care what people would think about that.
Yeah. I got to start with the second part is easier. You know, to be in my position, you got to have thick skin.
Yeah.
You know, you just, if I told you my childhood and some of the things, you go, wow, the Lord was developing your skin early on, very thick, because I was not not like you, wasn't the most gifted athlete. Quick aside. And, I worked hard for not that Pix didn't work hard. He did, but he had more gifts. I remember the first time that I played ball against you, and you were, I don't know, how much younger are you? How old are you now?
51.
Yeah, so you're 8 years younger than me. Yeah. And I was playing up at U High on weekends and stuff, and I guess I'm 25, 26, 20, somewhere in there. And I think you were at Samford. Where were you at that first?
I would have been at Samford.
Yeah, somewhere in there. It's just finishing high school and going into it, and we're playing up there, and I was a really good player, but I didn't have the physical gifts he did. I could shoot, I could handle, I was smart and all these things. And we're playing out there, and I've heard about this kid. Yeah, he's all right. And I'm looking at him, he's kind of doing stuff. And all of a sudden, he decided to turn it on against a bunch of aging 25-year-olds. and he took a couple of power dribbles down the lane, and then just jumped, and he kept jumping. And I was like, what's he doing?
Power play.
And it was a dunk. And I was like, excuse me, but white guys aren't supposed to be doing that back in that day. I mean, you just don't do that, right? I mean, and there was Kevin Brady at Redemptorist, my age, who could dunk, and that was a big deal, right? And then here he comes throwing it down. So testament to your gifts, and you did work very hard because you were a hell of a player.
I appreciate that.
But I didn't have all that, some other things, so I developed thicker skin. I think growing up, could tell you a couple of stories. And I was the last kid picked on the recess on the kickball teams and stuff. And you develop some of that. So I think I was always prepared for it, because you can't imagine what I do, how interested people get in it and how negative they can get towards me. And it's in all ways, shapes, and forms, emails, texts, phone calls, letters, everything. They want to just bash on you. So I don't get my identity from what I do as a lawyer. I don't get my identity from how people think about me. I know what people think poorly, but I don't care really. I care about.
If you did, you'd go crazy.
Yeah, my identity is in Christ.
That's right.
That's it. So I don't care. I mean, I know that. I know I'm going to honor him. I'm going to honor my wife, my kids, my family. Do the right thing, and the chips are going to fall. And I really don't care. That's why I can continue to do it and walk into see a room where I know there's going to be a lot of people who just don't like me.
And for no real apparent reason.
No reason.
Right.
Other than I'm a lawyer who represents people injured, which is biblical.
Yep.
Anybody want to take your time, read the Bible, read the Old Testament, and it's all there. The court system, how if someone's injured through someone else's negligence, God demands payment, and he wants it, and it's monetary payment. So everything that the system is built on is biblical. And people forget that. It's been kind of perverted by, the big companies who have done a great job kind of misinforming the public and making everybody think that it's the lawyer's fault when the insurance companies continue record profits and all those things. And, but yeah, I have a thick back, but more importantly, I have an identity in Christ. It doesn't bother me.
What about advice that you have for busy young professionals who are trying to raise a family, but at the same time grow business?
We talk about work-life balance. It doesn't exist, right? From a time standpoint, right? Because we're at the very beginning. When we go to school, we're spending more time away from home than we are.
Yeah.
So that, taking that into account.
Yep. Well, I suppose we had our company Christmas party last week, and I typically speak on the character value, and this year I did. And I always relate it biblical support for it and things like that. And inside of this, I always remind them, like work-life balance, right? You got to have it. What's more important is your family, your faith. Never miss anything I don't want you to miss a church on Sunday morning, a track meet, a reading, a play, a game. Always, always, always your family and your faith come before this job. And I remind them every single year, and I remind them all the time. But to your point, if you want to chase something, a dream, and you want to create something, a business, you better not sleep a lot.
Yeah.
If you actually care about your family and stuff, right? There are plenty of men and women who get caught up in the rat race of a corporate job type or building a business, and something's got to go. Everything you say, my pastor says, if you say yes to this, you're saying no to something else. So if I say yes, that I've got to get up in the morning and grow a business, I'm doing all these things, well, I'm saying no then to being at the breakfast table with my kids as they're growing up. So you better figure it out. And the only way I can do it is you better be very organized and you better work a lot. And so that's what I did. I'm going to start early. I was back in the day at the office at 5, and then I'd come back at 7 to do a little breakfast with the kids and make sure all that, and then I'd go back to office, and then same thing at night. I'd come home, do the dinner, and spend some time, and then I'd go back to working. It's you read any of the great guys who built companies, I'm talking the big guys, like Musk and Zuckerberg and all those guys, it's just crazy the amount of hours. Now, I think they were out of balance. Right. All it was 18 hours a day. It was, build Tesla and build Facebook. Had no identity in Christ or no family life. Right. So there's got to be some moderation on it. You can't be all that, or else you don't have a successful family life. But yeah, you got to just work. I wish I could tell you something else, right?
No.
Is it?
Yeah, that's it.
You're not going to sleep as much, and you better be very organized. And also I did, I like to exercise like you, but I still do this day, if I'm golfing, if I'm duck blind, I will be multitasking. So lots and lots of conference calls and stuff while I'm exercising.
Right.
You have to do it because I still like to exercise. It's important for you, but I can't go on an hour and a half run and I'll be back. I mean, it's conference calls the whole time. Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
And I might be more interested in hearing his answer than maybe any previous guest, just based on what we said.
Knowing where you're going with this, absolutely.
Oh gosh.
So,
sounds like a trap.
And we'll use the age 18. Okay. Yeah. Gordon McKernan right now sits across from 18-year-old Gordon McKernan and only gets to offer one piece of advice. And you know what you know right now.
So,
and that 18-year-old only knows what that 18-year-old knew. What would it be?
Yeah. Your number one point, honor God above all. And because that goes to everything. And the guys, you ain't got to work, but if you work, honor God where you work, how you work. If you're going to be married, honor God in that marriage, right? If you're going to exercise, honor God in that exercise. And he wants your best in everything you do, right? And so if you really want to be successful in life, honor God, because he's going to, I'm not saying he'd necessarily bless you, but he's going to give you a roadmap. You could do it, but still realize that there are other things that are important. And, whatever you do all to the glory of Christ, right? Wow. Love that. So I don't care what it is. And if you read anything on that, it doesn't matter if you're a janitor or if you're the king. That's right. No matter where you are, God has put you there, and you can honor him by giving it your all every single day, whether it's in a relationship with your wife, your kids, obviously your relationship with him, or your relationship at your office or your business and what you're doing. Honor him, and you give your best in everything you do. And no cutting corners, no cheating, all those things. I mean, think of all the demands that how you live a righteous life. And if you're doing it, you live it to its fullest.
I remember telling these guys before you came in, I said, look, if he's passionate about what he's talking about, he's not going to pull any punches. He's going to tell you what he feels about it, right? Which I don't think is necessarily a trait of a lot of males in today's world for whatever the reason. But this has been incredibly impactful for me, I know. I know for our viewers for sure. Thank you so much for joining us and being so transparent. And obviously, look, there's a lot of people that could look at you and go, oh, wow, he's, financially he's blessed. He's got a great business. He's got everything together. Look, everybody has their stuff that they're dealing with, right? And the fact that you continue regardless of, like you said, there are rooms all over Baton Rouge that you'll walk in and a percentage of those people aren't going to like you out of jealousy, out of spite, out of whatever it is. And most of it for no reason whatsoever. Right. And you still, I would be willing to bet 75% of this podcast, he's been smiling while he's talking, right? So I think that shows God's light shining through you for sure. And
Amen.
man, we
Hope so.
appreciate it.
Well, thank y'all.
We
God bless
appreciate
y'all.
you being on for sure.
Appreciate y'all.
So, anyhow, we'll kill it there with the TLW podcast. I am Jonathan Pixley with my partners, Dr. Sean Owens and Jace Augustus, and once again, our esteemed guest, Mr. Gordon McKernan. Go get it.